The far-right FPO party has secured a historic victory in the general elections in Austria. The results on Sunday make Austria the latest in a string of European countries, including Germany and the Netherlands, to see a jump in support for the far right. Well, Armen Georgian, our Europe editor, is with me to talk about this. And Armen, first of all, why do you think the FPO has achieved such a breakthrough in Austria?
Well, I think there's a mixture of Austrian factors and European factors here, Nadia. So obviously geography plays a role because Austria is on a kind of crossroads for migration from the Middle East and from Africa, and also from the Western Balkans from the Balkans, I should say, into Western Europe. And then, of course, the fact that it has a small population, 9 million people, but by EU standards, it's got a high per capita intake of refugees. Mm-hmm. So that's allowed the far right to build this narrative that, you know, why is Austria being swamped and why are we bearing the brunt of this and so forth. Plus, of course, the kind of talk we've heard from far right or populist parties elsewhere around Europe about communities changing too fast, or how can children be schooled when there are 22 nationalities in the classroom that don't speak German or French or whatever. So you've got those familiar narratives and kind of specific Austrian factors as well. Mm.
And do you see a parallel then between what has happened in Austria over the weekend and those other countries I mentioned, the Netherlands and Germany?
The Netherlands, I think, is definitely a parallel. I mean, if you think of last year, that big upset when the far right won the general election in the Netherlands, or they came first, just as the FPO has done in Austria. There was a similar upset, and in the Netherlands, other parties did what they could to try and keep out Geert Wilders. He didn't become prime minister in the end, but they didn't manage to keep out the PVV. And the PVV is in the Dutch government. It's having a lot of influence. You can see that when it comes to migration and how the Netherlands now is trying to get opt-outs from European common asylum rules. And similarly, with Herbert Kickl in Austria, you've got other parties that are trying to kind of keep him out. They're saying, well, one party in particular saying maybe we could work with the FPO, but we can't work with the actual leader because he's too controversial. So that's definitely a parallel with Geert Wilders. We'll have to see, obviously, how far that parallel goes in Austria, because we have potentially quite long coalition talks coming up now. One thing that's notable, though, is that while Wilders did sort of moderate his rhetoric on Islam, Herbert Kickl shows no sign of doing any such thing, of any kind of moderation. Also bear in mind that the FPO does have this sort of slightly dark past, and it's never had a complete a kind of reckoning with the past in the way that, for example, the National Rally in France has gone through what's called this demonization. The FPO in Austria hasn't really done that, and so when you combine that with the actual personality of Herbert Kickl, you can see how it's pretty hard for other parties to kind of find a way of working with him.
Interesting story. Thanks very much indeed, Armen Georgian, our Europe editor, for us there.